Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Ólafur Guðmundsson, and I'm from Iceland, and I'm the vice president of IDEA. I just want to say a few words at the beginning, very short only. Um, uh, on behalf of IDEA, I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar. It's a pleasure to see so many people from many places in the world. And yes, and I'm happy to host this session on socially engaged theatre practices and future directions. Um, my background is in theater. I'm an actor and practitioner, and mostly I've been teaching. I've been in education, but as well a little bit in theater in social and community contexts. And I did my MA in applied drama in education in educational, social, and community contexts in the UK. Um, I believe that all theatre is in some way socially engaged. Um, it's always about human connection and shared experiences. It's about telling each other stories and sharing our own stories. But today we are focusing more specifically on theatre created with and alongside people in the community, what we might call participatory or socially engaged practice. It's wonderful to see you all from so many different parts of the world. We probably, all of us, share similar motivations and values in our work, but we each operate in different social contexts and use a variety of methods and approaches. In this webinar, we will hear about a range of examples from this field, as well as ideas and methodologies that inform our practice. And I hope that our time together will be inspiring and that it will offer all of us new perspectives and ideas that we can take into our work. Before we begin the presentations, I want to ask you, Dunya, are there any things that you would like to mention? I want to mention that if there, we will just do the presentations one by one,
One
and
by
then
one.
and then sorry, and then we will have questions and comments at the end. So, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them in the chat. So then we can just take them up in the at the end. Is there anything you would like to say also, Dunya, before we start?
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all here. Just a few technical information. I would like to ask you during the presentations to shut off your camera and microphone, except for the presenter. And that's it. Thank you for
Okay.
joining us.
Yeah. Okay. So to begin with, I want to introduce our first presenters, Polixena Hardalova. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Polixena Hardalova and Sonia Barbosa from the School of Education at the Polytechnic University of Porto in Portugal. The title of the presentation is Engaging and Empowering Early School Leavers Through Theatre. Polixena and Sonia, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to share this moment with you. Hello from Portugal. I'm originally from Bulgaria, but I'm here in Portugal and sharing the same passion with all of you. So today, the story that we bring today with Sonia, it's a story of a journey. Not like the one that ended last night, which brought together many people and many hearts, but a journey with a similar effect, bringing meaning and hope to the education and social work. So we are here to share our project that happened in 2021, Circumnavigate, interdisciplinary art project, doing with and for early school leavers. So just very few words about who is this target group, who are these people that we say that they are early school leavers. So the concept of second chance schools, schools for early school leavers, dates from 1995. It's a compensatory measure launched by European Commission in response to the increasing number of young people leaving school with low qualification. Since then, many schools, second chance schools, opened their doors in Europe. The Second Chance School of Matosinhos is founded in 2008 by our association with a collaboration with other partners. And it's the first Portuguese school that welcomes every year young people with negative school experience, often very traumatic experience, who have lost faith in school as a place of learning and socialization. When these young people come to us, they often comes with glasses, dark glasses, with hoodies, with crossed arms, giving many verbal and non-verbal signs of refusing to communicate. So the main problem is that they arrive with negative or no expectations and with little belief that this time the school experience could be different. They come believing I'm not capable to do it, I'm not able, the school is not for me, especially when it comes to reading and writing for hours. So the only way to address these negative beliefs is to build nuance with positive connotation. So in search of a new approaches for engagement and empowerment, the professionals of Second Chance School in Matosinhos have been finding alternative ways of communicating and involving the young people. And of course, art, theater became our natural mediator, a frequency where human encounter become possible, an invitation for dialogue and connection. Very few words about the method for those who haven't heard already about it. So sensory theater or sensory labyrinth theater, it's created by the playwright and anthropologist Enrique Vargas, who came from Colombia in the 90s. So he brought this experience to Europe. I recommend you, if you have possibility, to go to Barcelona and to visit Theater of Senses. It's a very fantastic experience. So this sensory theater is conceived as a multisensory journey in which the distance between the actor and the observer disappears. This method is also defined as a context-oriented theater by Johan Brioch, who was my trainer in this method. And this is a theater method that can be done in every space. So the specific characteristics of the space, its dimensions, the shapes, the materials, the colors, as well as the objects, props, and costumes that are used, can serve as an inspiration and a starting point for the creation of a thematic settings. So the actor in this theater, we can say that is inhabitant, and the spectators is a visitor. Is a theater not just to see and to listen to it, but it's a theater that you can touch, taste, smell, and feel many, many things. So this technique, sensory theater, have thus become one of the innovative pedagogical tools used in working with young people at Second Chance School in Matosinhos. And in a while, with the help of Dunia, we will show you a very short movie, 1.5 minutes. In the chat, we will share the longest version of 5 minutes. So in this movie, you can, by this movie, you can taste what we've done. So small short piece to feel and to see how we did our performance. So we use one normal classical theater place, but we use all the theater space, all the corridors, the backstage, the understage, cafeteria, everything was reorganized into 11 different stations. So in these stations, in the first stage, the Portuguese house, the journey starts there with our protagonist, a student of ours, who couldn't leave the house, but he could travel by his imagination. So imagining Fernando Magellan, the traveler 500 years ago, he starts his journey from Spain. And in the movie, you can see the blue fabric that sound that evoke Atlantic, while darkness lets quiet and shy students recreate the ship's holds, cargo holds, through sound and rhythm. You can see Brazil, how appears through lush plants and improvised favelas. You can see a rope that will guide the participants through storms to icy Patagonia. Singing and dancing crew that is celebrating the crossing through Strait of Magellan. Endure a long, hopeless Pacific voyage. Witness their captain's death, then in Philippines, and the crew then recover, complete the mission, and return to the worldwide applauses of the audience. So, Dunia, please share the video.
Yes. Sorry, I need to share also audio.
Okay, so it's just a smell. In a while, I will put in the chat the link of the version of 5 minutes version. Just to tell you that during the 1 week, we did 18 sessions, 18 performances during the pandemic for 2,000 people, 200 people, not 2,000, 200 people. The groups would enter in a group, the audience would enter in a groups of 8 to 10 participants. And during 1 week, the students of Second Chance managed to make all this happen. And with Sonia, we would like to give you some theories that could bring some light about why this theater method was a good pedagogical tool for this target. Sonia?
You hearing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So really quick, the project is informed by the constructivist learning theories, especially on John Dewey's idea of learning by doing, where knowledge emerge through experience. And this emphasizes strongly the tradition of drama in education, particularly with the work of Dorothy Hitchcock, where learning happens through lived and shared actions. And also draw us Paulo Freire, valuing dialogue, critical awareness, position young people as active subjects in their own learning. Also from a human search for meaning, which this project supports through artistic creation and reflection.
There are some cuts of the sound, Sonia.
Yeah, it is.
We cannot hear you well.
Well, I think from the
Creative
video,
process.
the problem is connection. So yeah.
You are not hearing me?
There was some cuts, Sonia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can do it again.
Just continue.
Okay. I was really ending. I was just talking about the concept of flow, which Mihaly bring us and help us to understand the deep engagement observed in these young participants, where they can become fully immersed in the creative process. And this is our net, but just created the theoretical framework. Polly.
Okay, so just to finish about our findings. Of course, we find one more time that theater can be solution, drama can be solution, even for young people that don't like school. So there is always a way, there is always a hope, and the diversity of the theater methods is so big and so great opportunity to rethink the educational model, the classical, traditional, I would say, old-fashioned model, to rethink the buildings, to rethink the methodologies that offer or doesn't offer opportunities and safe environments where environments that can involve the young people and that can empower the young people. So our findings, I would like to Sonia to share the last slide of ours. Our findings are one more time about yes, theater can be a school. Rehearsing and performing, we can rehearse and perform school success. And sensory labyrinth theater emerges as an alternative to the traditional school model and to the conventional use of school space, proposing new experience outside established norms that involves and empower. So, thank you very much. We will finish with one slide, the last slide of our performance that is showing all the travel of Magellan. It was one of our last scenes of the performance, a small animation movie made specially for the session. So yes, we found the Strait of Magellan one more time. And if you have any further questions, we are happy to answer you. Thank you so much.
I will put in the chat the link to the video.
Okay, the video of 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Very interesting and inspiring. It's something that I really would like to explore more of, sensory labyrinth theater. But we go over to the next presenter, Lazar Jovanov from Serbia.
Yes.
And that's the title of that presentation is Challenging Ageism Through Intergenerational. So our next presentations will be about working intergenerationally and then with older people in reminiscence theater. But we'll start with Lazar, Challenging Ageism Through Intergenerational Theater. Please go ahead, Lazar.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sharing screen, but I don't know, is it visible for you?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Just a second. Okay. Slideshow from the beginning. So once again, hi everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. I'm sending greetings in front of the core team of the association Artichoke, which is Branka Bajic, co-founder, and myself, Lazar Jovanov. We are from Serbia, from Novi Sad. Branka is actually drama pedagogue. She's applied theater practitioner, also PhD in a field of doing community theater with older population. And I am also actor, both actor and director, culture manager of European projects, and PhD in culture policies. Today, we will share our work with older adults and intergenerational communities, focusing on how theater can challenge ageism. So, in our work, we often encounter people that were facing with some forms of oppression or discrimination, individuals who were self-isolated because of various reasons, but also we are working with groups driven by some kind of curiosity, seeking excitements, new experiences, opportunities to explore. But also we include, let's say, privileged individuals who also join us and who maybe feel some bored in their lives, and believe it or not, even hardest to engage in our processes. Different forms of ageism has been our topic for past 5 years. I will just quote the World Health Organization, who defines ageism through 3 levels. Stereotypes is that how we think, prejudice, how we feel, and discrimination, how we act toward people based on their age. So ageism can be institutional, including laws and policies, interpersonal, including social interactions, and self-directed when a person internalized these prejudice, which is very often situation with our participants who are starting to work with us. We are often told that aging means inevitable decline, but recent research by the Yale University suggests something very different and interesting. So, what is especially important is how people think about aging itself. Positive beliefs about aging were associated with better health outcomes. In other words, aging is shaped not only by biology, but also by beliefs. And this is important for us since the cultural dynamic becomes here crucial one, because we live in aging societies, but yet older people are still largely excluded from cultural life. So for us, this is one, let's say, of not only social political challenges, but this is also a cultural challenge. In this regard, we are not creating theater about people, but theater with people and for people. We work through long-term processes where participants are not only performers of someone else's ideas, but co-creators of meaning and the content. Our work is based on socially and politically engaged theater, but political in, let's say, this policy sense, legislation and laws. So that's why we are inviting various stakeholders to join us during the realization. Institutional representatives, decision policy makers, media representatives, journalists, aging experts, and etc. Regarding our methods, we work, let's say, in a hybrid way. Depending on the topics, we use different methods such as reminiscence theater, process drama, legislative theater, newspaper theater, forum theater, and our work includes also improvisation, physical theater, documentary drama, and stories based on real experiences. We also use object and image theater, which allows expression beyond the words. So the process is essential for us. but the final performance is equally important, as it opens space for spreading the dialogue, the advocacy, and the audience engagement. Also, aesthetic and genre play a key role in how we approach to communicate concrete topic. Also, the audience is not a passive one. They take part in these experiences. Most of our performances are interactive in many ways, in verbal, in non-verbal, and they are actually having this immersive character. So these methods are very effective when working with a topic such as ageism and dementia that we were dealing with. Regarding our approach, we are mostly working with intergenerational groups. So we bring together older and younger participants, middle-aged participants, creating a collaborative environment where different generational perspectives are essential in addressing shared challenges. So ageism is a two-way dynamic. You know, it does not affect only older people, and that's why it's good, this kind of a clashing of different generations with different perspectives. It gives good quality to the project. And intergenerational work is therefore important to build this kind of solidarity, and how it's called intergenerational intelligence. It also increases the visibility and dissemination of these issues, especially as younger participants are more present and active in digital sphere. So I will switch and mention some of our latest production and projects. And one of them is Waiting for the Rain performance. So this was also done with intergenerational group based on their real life experiences of discrimination based on age. So Waiting for the Rain, as it is titled, was part of the international project Age Against the Machine. It was within the CERV European program, and Branka and myself, we were the authors. It was funded by EU, and it included the networks of 6 towns from 5 European countries, having the partner organizations, theaters, universities, expert organizations such as Red Cross Serbia. And in each of these partner countries, they were doing process work with intergenerational groups, focusing on various aspects of ageism, depending on the local context within their countries. So in Serbia, we were working a series of ageistic situation directed mostly toward older populations. For instance, a bank refusing services, discrimination in insurance companies toward older people, discrimination in social policies, in health policies, discrimination in first aid, violence against older people. And that's why we call this ageism in 6 scenes, because we are presenting in some separate stories that are connected with the overall aesthetic approach. So the final performance, and the process was lasting for 6 months, something like that. And the final performance, let's say that it is kind of post-dramatic performance, quite verbal, very challenging for the community, with antique choir and a lot of comment songs. The scenes are humorous, ironic, but also emotional, deeply uncomfortable, and even tragical. So what become visible with this performance is that with this process, with this project, is that ageism is not an exception. It is quite a normalized part of everyday life. Our current project has been resulted with this performance, Forget Me Not. This is performance that explores dementia, and dementia is mostly unfortunately focused on older population. This performance was part of the IPA cross-border cooperation Hungary-Serbia called Caravan of Solidarity, and one of the results was this performance Forget Me Not. We had a lot of advocacy initiatives, actions in public space, flash mob, digital campaign, and etc. But this Forget Me Not was also an intergenerational community process. It brought together stories of people living with dementia and those who care for them. The story is articulated through a predominantly visual language, reflecting this inner world of people living with dementia, a reality shaped by hallucinations, fragmented images, disorientation, and kind of eclectic montage of reality. At one point of the performance, the performers are moving through the audience, blurring thus this boundary between the real world and the world of forgetfulness, how it's called. So showing how the fluid and overlapping these realities become when you are living within dementia, and when it's not so clear what is real and what is not. And audience, of course, again, is not just simply observing this performance. They also enter this world of disorientation, care, and this fragile connection. So this is not only a representation. This Forget Me Not is kind of the idea was to create an experience of living with dementia. One of activities within our project Age Against the Machine was this festival Ageless. In each partner countries there was a festival hosting all productions that were conducted within the project, and one of the festival was in Novi Sad in Serbia. We called it Ageless, and it hosted production from Odin Nordic Theater Laboratorium from Denmark, University of Evora, Portugal, Brahma Theater, Poland, Cuneo, Dispari Teatro, and Novi Sad, European Capital of Culture. And we had 6 production advocacy initiatives. We had workshops, team buildings, etc. And I will just show you quickly 1 minute lasting this video, and I will give you the longer version in the comments.
Sorry, is there sound
Oh,
accompanying?
yes.
Can you
Sorry?
share the sound, please?
Yeah, when you share,
I
you
don't
need
know.
to click like share sound as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I will skip the sound, not to waste your time. I will talk during this presentation part, if that's okay with you, if you can hear me.
Okay, so you will share the video with us in
Yes.
the chat.
Okay, you don't want to, it's only this shorter version, just to see the
Okay.
impression,
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
like this. Sorry. So after each performance, there was a kind of interactive discussion with the audience, with decision makers, with the journalists. We had this Age Against the Machine Council that was actively participating in all the process and also present during this festival. Okay, Sorry for this inconvenience. I didn't know that I didn't include the sound. So for the conclusions, I will just tell you a little bit about these results conducted by our partner, Red Cross of Serbia, showing what are clear short-term effects of this community theater working with intergenerational approach on the topics of ageism. So what are key changes are actually emotions. People feel less distance from older adults, and they become more open, more empathic, and less afraid of aging itself. What is actually the most important outcome is the real community that is created through this long-term theater process. So participants feel socialized, empowered for expressing themselves and speaking out loud for the challenges they are facing with. For many of participants, the theater was actually the way out of loneliness and depression. But it requires hard work in pushing them over the boundaries. Many of older persons are stepping into the theater processes with primary idea just to spend some time, to hang out, which is of course okay and legitimate, but we let them feel that way in first phase, to feel good, to play, to be joyful. So mostly they are even not even aware of the moment when they were dragged into the topic, into the dealing with the challenges. And sometimes it's not actually easy to face with this kind of topic, to handle it. And probably most of them would reject to participate if immediately we would start with some tough topics. But in the final stage, they are boosted, they are empowered to participate, they feel part of the group, and actually we are pushing them to give their best for the final stage of the process, which is actually the performance. We also see a reduction in the most direct and visible stereotypes, and I must say that we had a great support of all kind of medias, even the mainstream and national medias here in Serbia. But what does not change so easily are these deeper structures. So paternalistic attitudes often remain. Older people are still seen as those who need to be taken care of, rather than those who make the decision. And when it comes to question of power, policy, social position, the changes are much, much slower. So let's say like this, theater can create community, empower participant, highlight the problem, get attention of media, open the door of possible solution on policy level. But long-term changes requires broader political, social, and institutional support. And that's why we are creating those councils involving all these different stakeholders and interested parties that could help solving or improving policies in this matter. And for the conclusion, I will just give you one final quote. Social engaged theater is not only about giving a voice, it is about changing who is allowed to speak. So once again, in the front of Artichoke Collective, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lazar. It's really, really interesting and to me, very inspiring. Now we are going, we will stay with the theme of theater and aging, but we will shift over to Iceland, to Andrea Katrín Guðmundsdóttir, who will introduce Minningaleikhúsið, a project based on reminiscence theater and the creative use of personal memories. Over to you, Andrea. Welcome.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Well, and thank you. It was very inspiring, Lazarov. So I'm going to tell you about this little project of mine. And okay, let's share the Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna share the slides. Oops. And here we go. So can you see this?
Yes. But
Sorry about
please
that.
do full screen.
Yep,
Okay.
it should happen right now. Is it full screen now?
No.
Not yet.
Not
no.
yet.
I think that's when you share, you need to share it in a different way so it can show
Let's see.
full screen.
What about now?
No. Oh,
Now,
yeah,
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
thank
Is
you.
it good now?
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
I'll
Yeah.
start then. Okay, so my company, it's called Minningarleikhúsið, or if we translate it, Theatre of Memories. And we are based in Iceland, currently in Egilsstaðir, which is in the east coast of Iceland. So just a little bit of me. I'm the founder of the theatre company, and it's a very, very small company. It's only me. It's just starting off, kind of. I graduated with a community theatre degree from East 15 Acting School in England. And also I finished an MCN degree, Cultural Management from Bifröst University in Iceland. Currently I am working as a primary school teacher, also a drama teacher, but I've been teaching and directing in Iceland since I graduated. So the story behind this project, I created it in 2019 as a graduation project from Bifröst University. And I had this idea for a few years, a dream to start this kind of company. And it's kind of like a personal reason. My mom passed away, and she was working as a nurse assistant with elderly people for years, and she always was really focused about the that we should use joy and we should play even though we're in older ages. So and since I took this reminiscent theatre course in East 15, and I was really inspired by that, and I took that away with me. So when I was back in Iceland, and it was 2019, I was like, okay, now it's a chance to try this idea out, since I had to create this final project. And I was also very aware of that there were not many opportunities for senior citizens in Iceland to participate in theatre. So I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance here to try it out and see if there's any interest in that. So what I did is I approached the Senior Citizen Association. There are like various associations in Iceland, and in this early days of the company, it was in 2019, I was currently living in Mosfellsbær, so that's where it all started. So I contacted the association. I said, okay, I have this idea. I don't have any money, but would you house us so we can invite people to come for a theater workshop? And I introduced as a 6 to 8 weeks theater workshop where the admission would be free. We would go through drama games, but obviously I would be focusing on reminiscence work, and I would collect the participants' memory and create with them a theater performance. So and they were interested, and we did it. So here on this slide, you see kind of the recipe of the project. So I use music and old news, pictures, objects, etc. to kind of start off the reminiscence sessions. So there's always a theme for each session. Then I write down the memories. and I try to see like threads and connections that so I can kind of I don't know, in the end combine a whole show that would be interesting for others to watch. Obviously we'll have to improvise the scenes. I don't like write like a proper script for them, because they are the participants, they play out the scenes themselves. They are acting their own memories and other memories in the group. So we are improvising it together, and I direct them through that. And so yeah, in the end, there's like a performance in front of audience, and I try to include, for example, local choirs or musicians to add the music to the performance. So in this project, the first one, for example, there was like a choir with older people or seniors, and they were really keen on participating. So, and the director of the choir also. So there's like, okay, we will rehearse 2 songs for this performance of yours and take part in it. And it was really good, and added obviously a lot to the performance. I think music is essential. Okay, so a little bit about the goals of the project. For me, it should always be fun, and I tell that to people when I'm introducing it. It should be fun. We should have fun together, laugh, play. It's a chance to be together, share experiences, memories, and what happens while we sit in a circle and they are telling me about the childhood games that they play, or funny travels, or the school experience, like how it used to be in primary school, etc., etc. Like it's so easy to start it off, and they are so eager to share their memories, and so beautiful to be a part of that situation. And I think it's very important to have this kind of project for all the people, to give them a chance to step outside their comfort zone. And while I talk to people after a project of mine, they keeps telling me that, oh, okay, in the beginning I wasn't so sure about participating in this, but I wanted to step outside of my comfort zone, and now I'm really proud of myself. So it's like it feels like it's good for their confidence and self-esteem to try this kind of project. This is just a list of past productions, just to show you that I've been in different towns in Iceland. We just have one city, which is Reykjavik, but we have Mosfellsbær, which is in the southwest. And then because I was living for 1 year in Djúpivogur, I approached the Senior Citizens Association there, and they wanted to do a project with me. And then I moved back after the COVID to Reykjavik, so I did a project there in Grafarvogur. And this year, I'll go back to this. Sorry. And this year I'm in Egilsstaðir. So yeah, I'm going around the country a bit. Let's see. Sorry for this. Yeah, this is just about like the importance of this kind of community theatre project. I think it's so important for us younger ones to be able to listen to real people's stories and play it out on a stage, and they are sharing it. We are comparing experiences, and yeah, it's just so important. So let's see. So this is the project that we is going on now. It was the first time in the story of my little company that I actually received the funding. Before that, it's just been mine own, like myself doing my kind of work. Because getting a bit money from the performances, like from the admission fees. But it's always free for the participants to participate in this workshop, this project. But this year, 2026, I received the funding, so I was able to get some salary myself. But also, I had this beautiful collaboration with the Arts Center on the east side, Eastfjords of Iceland, in Egilsstaðir. So on this picture here, you see this is inside of the theater, some practice. And finally, I was able to take the participant inside of a real theater and, use stage lighting and all the offers that like this kind of building can give to the show. Prior to that, we had been performing in just community halls for older people where there are no stage lighting, for example. So I was just using like lamps and stuff to create like a cozy atmosphere. So for me it has been a huge difference and very, very exciting to work. We started the project in February. I worked with them for 6 weeks. I met them twice a week for an hour and a half, and we did all the theater exercises, games, and the reminiscence sessions. And then, just like in a typical theater production, we ended up rehearsing the scenes we created together in this theater. And on 29th of March, we had our premiere, and it was sold out, and people had to leave without a ticket. So that was really, really, really fun, and we're gonna do another show on the 17th of April. Also, we the national television broadcast approached me and asked for an interview, and they came to a practice and spent 2 hours like filming, and they showed it on the RÚV, the national station, TV station. So like our current situation of this company, Minningarleikhúsið Memory Theatre, is that okay, where to go from now? Because finally I feel that okay, maybe I have I have the attention, I have the voice to kind of take it further and maybe get more funding so we can spread out this work. And like, let's say, I want to like expand the company, like have more people with me, because obviously I can't do everything on my own. When it's like voluntary work, it's just, as you probably all know, it's a lot of work. But now I feel like we are in a position that maybe we can, make it bigger and do more. And even like I'm really interested in intergenerational work, like you in Serbia, Lazar, were introducing. So who knows what will happen? But at least I feel like we have like a very sorry how to say it, like a very positive, we're getting really positive feedback from the community, the local community in Egilsstaðir. And we have also prior, but my dream is to take it further and develop it and enlarge it, and so I think I will end it here. Thank you very much for your attention, and it's so much fun to be able to be here with you and listen to your hear about your other projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, very much for sharing your story. And I'm looking forward to see the development of your company and the concept of it. And I think it's really important to develop this further in Iceland, this part of theatre work. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So now we move over to Chetna Mehrotra from India. The title of her presentation is Facilitating Fragments, toward a dramaturgy of emergence. So, Chetna, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Namaste. Hello, everybody.
Namaste.
I will request Dunya to share my slides.
Yes, in a second.
Yeah, thank you. In India, for us, it is chai time, tea time. So I'm also having my chai. Oh, thank you. So thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm so happy that these forums are so activated around socially engaged theater. My name is Chetna, and I practice in India for the past 14 years. I've been into applied theater and socially engaged art. Now I am currently pursuing my performance studies in the Netherlands, in Europe, and almost on the verge of completion. So today, what I share with you is a methodology that I have been developing in my practice, which is facilitative dramaturgy and conditions of participation, to rethink how participation emerges in socially engaged theater. My work is in the research context of Diana Taylor's work, who teaches performance studies in context of Latin American theater, and her work, The Archive and the Repertoire, Performing Culture Memories in the Americas. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So this presentation today explores how participation is produced, structured, and conditioned within socially engaged theater practices. Rather than treating participation as an assumed outcome of artistic design, I approach it as something that emerges through specific material, social, relational conditions. My work asks a simple but fundamental question. What actually makes participation possible in practice? What holds it back? And even within intentionality, participatory frameworks. So my work is in the field, in the context of denotified communities. In India, we have about 145 denotified communities, which have a colonial history. When the British came, they labeled them as criminals, and they did not get their independence until 1952. And until now, they do not have any basic rights to sanitation, water. Water comes once a week in the community. Also education, we have children who do not have basic schools. When I go to work with them, the children have to travel 2 hours one way. And recently we had 5 deaths of small children crossing the highway. So these are the denotified communities, and my work takes me to migrant youth and women. In India, we have a lot of interstate migrants who come in from one state to another, and also from other countries, neighboring countries, and participants in labor economies, informal labor economies like factory settings. And I also work with schools and cultural organizations. So I think across these contexts, participation is never neutral or equally available. I argue that. It is shaped by caste, gender, labor, mobility, and institutional power structures that determine not only who participates. I think my friend Lazar spoke about that, who can speak, but how, when, and under what condition participation becomes possible. What emerged in my research early on is that participation is simply not an outcome of facilitation. I think it is already structured before facilitation begins. Yeah, Dunya, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So I think in many, I like to problematize the idea of participation in socially engaged theater. I think in many socially engaged theater practices, participation is framed as enabling voice, agency, and expression, as if introducing participatory structures which will naturally produce engagement. So a lot of communities that I work with, and also I practice a lot of work from Theatre de l'Oppresse, Boal's work, and playback theater from Jonathan Fox's work. And Boal and all these workshops, I feel when I started early on, there was an assumption that people who come are already ready to participate. But the communities I work with, they go through a lot of survival issues, material issues, like the water comes once in a week, as I said. And sometimes the women do not turn up for the workshop. So I want to question this, that participation should not be a guaranteed method. So at times, these participants remain sometimes silent, not due to lack of interest, but because speaking involved social risk. A lot of times, there is a lot of police violence in the area. There are a lot of police raids in the night, and they do not want to expose themselves into participating in workshops. There's authority, it's asymmetry and unfamiliar institutional settings. So I think I found a structural gap between design participatory methods and actual conditions of participation in lived context. This made it necessary for me to rethink participation, not as an outcome of method, but as something that emerges through conditions. Actually, a lot of time participation in my facilitative sessions came through informal interactions, shared time or embodied exercise. Like one of the times, as I said, in India, we have a chai, which is the tea we make in India. I remember in one of the work I was doing with migrant youth community, about 3 sessions down, like we already completed, there was a little girl of 12 years old. She didn't speak and she had her eye gaze almost down every time. But on the 4th day of the session, I reached early and she was also sitting there, and it was a ritual for us to have banana and chai. And I remember that once I was having my chai with her and we started to talk. And then while we were talking, she revealed that in her community, they don't give mobile phones to girls and only to boys. And she found it deeply problematic. And in that session, I remember we did image theater work from Boal's technique. In that, she created an image sculpture of her grandfather who was smoking outside the whole day, grandmother who was inside cooking, mother cleaning, and she was helping the mother. And I asked her, where are the boys? And she told me, you become the boy and stand outside of the home and dance, because boys are always free to dance. So I think those informal interaction made her confident to then share. The conditions became so comfortable that she shared that day. Yeah. Thank you. Dunya, we can move to the next slide. Thank you. So I think this shifts the conceptual framework of how participation is understood. Rather than treating participation as something produced by method, I understand that something that I think participation is something which is conditionally produced through emergence. It is not a fixed category, but a situated process that is continuously shaped in real time. So I think as socially engaged practitioners, we must ask and move our focus from asking, how do we get people to participate, towards a more precise question, what conditions make participation possible in the first place? And I think the shift of focus could come from activities outputs to even before that. What could be the spatial, temporal, relational, and social conditions that can create this participation? So yeah, Dunya, we can go to the next slide. And so I've developed this method because this was my confusion, like how do I bring these spatial, temporal conditions? And I started to research it through some series of residencies with the denotified communities and migrant communities. And through the years that I invested in my work, I started to figure out this, I've made this methodology called facilitative dramaturgy, which I'm still researching on and writing my thesis later on this. I feel this facilitative dramaturgy understands facilitation and dramaturgy not as separate roles. And dramaturgy, of course, has a theater, comes from theater, where we look at sequencing of scenes, even set design, costume. But I think here it is just not sequencing. It is, I think, both. Dramaturgy is about temporal organization of processes that unfold over time. And facilitation is just not an ethical holding or inclusion. It becomes the active modulation of conditions within which participation can emerge, sometimes recede, or transform. I think together in the performance practice, it moves from producing fixed outcome to composing conditions of emergence. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So how does it actually look on the field? Facilitative dramaturgy, I created this something called as facilitative scores. And these are a set of adaptive practices, practice-based prompts that structure participation through continuous situational adjustment. This would come as task modulation, like shaping embodied actions without fixed outcomes, spatial tuning, adjusting a proximity movement threshold, temporal recalibration, waiting, delaying is also a part of facilitation, I feel, and relational attunement, which are informal exchanges of chai, food, silence. And for example, when I say of body and movement and spatial attuning, I remember a workshop where I was doing playback theater with a youth in a village in India, and a young boy who was there in the workshop was quite silent for 3-4 days, and I was wondering when will he share his story. And I remember on day 5, I introduced something called as embodied mapping or cartography, where they could go out on the streets and map it on a tracing sheet, the places where they feel comfortable, uncomfortable, safe. And he came back after 2 hours, such beautiful sense of cartography, mapping. And then when he started to share, he revealed that there's one particular street he feels very uncomfortable about, because that street has her sisters, and in fact women from a village, who are forced into illegal sex work, and they stand there in the night. And so it became the most uncomfortable part of his work, so of his life. So I think this condition of this facilitative score called as embodied mapping made him speak. So these facilitative scores produce conditions that are non-uniform, responsive, and context-specific. Here we can go to the next slide. So these are some of the extensions, like we could move into pre-workshop encounters. Like I like to go for a walk with my community members a lot, informal meetings, shared meals, attention to even delay and silences, adapting structures of sessions based on participants' readiness and social conditions, and responsiveness to everyday constraints. Like many times in the marginalized communities, the children from the migrant communities do not come for the session, because especially the girls have to do household chores. Or sometimes there's a lot of teacher violence in schools where they go, and they are asked to stay back in the school and even clean the schools for some time, which they should not be doing. So these are some of the ways that these constraints starts to shape their absence and presence. And I can go to the next slide. And so these, if you see there's a woman on the street, a single woman walking. These are the communities I work with, and I go for a walk with them to know about what's happening, where do they stay. And on to the other side, you see these young participants, girls having chai together, where we generally talk over food and meals, and they share about their lives and their dreams and aspiration. And on to the last slide. And I conclude that in practice, I think this methodology of facilitative dramaturgy extends beyond formal workshop structures. It begins before sessions, in informal encounters, with shared meals, chai time conversations. Within workshop, it involves attending to moments often treated as interruptions. Uneven participation, delay, are meaningful indicators of conditions rather than failure. Participation in this sense is negotiated across multiple temporal and social layers. Labor schedules, mobility constraints, and everyday pressures that shape presence and absence. I think socially engaged theater does not operate in neutral or equally accessible spaces. Participation is always unevenly distributed, shaped by social, political, and material conditions. Attending to these conditions repositions socially engaged theater, I think more relevant today with all what is going on in the world. It is not as a practice that secures participation as guaranteed effect, but one that works with the politics of emergence. The future of socially engaged theater lies in working with the conditions through which the participation becomes possible. because I feel participation is never simply given, it is always composed. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Chetna. This was really interesting and inspiring, and very much to think of for probably all of us. Probably all of us deal with the situation of how having people to participate in the conditions that we are in. I'm truly inspired by this. Now we go over to Shak Koyok from Malaysia. Shak, the title of Shak's presentation is Awas Mawas, Puppetry with Indigenous Communities. Shak, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Yes.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
go ahead.
So I'm gonna do screen share here. Thank you, Oli, for having me and inviting me to present my paper on the puppetry for indigenous community. So our project is called Awas Mawas. So Awas Mawas is actually a word, play word for Mawas. It mean Bigfoot, and our community in Malaysia, and Awas mean caution. Caution is a Bigfoot. So you can see the Bigfoot on the back. So we build this Bigfoot. It's based on the indigenous folklore, and we do this puppetry in the indigenous community. So in Awas Mawas, we plan to do a street parade and performance, and our workplace actually located inside the indigenous community area, and many of the actors come from the community itself. So we try to make it very sustainable in terms of medium that we use. As you can see there, the medium that we use is actually from the cardboard. So we actually don't spend money at all for the cardboard. So most of these card boxes actually are donated by many shops that have a cardboard boxes, and we basically just have to find a way to sculpt it and work together. So all these character actually come from indigenous folklore stories, and from the folklore story we developed into drawings. So, but drawings actually we actually try asking the children to draw and illustrate based on the folklore story they heard from the older generation. So most of our target participant is from the children, from the school children, because many of our young indigenous children usually don't have the opportunity to hear the folklore story from their older generation anymore, because many of the school syllabus and school system doesn't have any subject about indigenous people at all, and also many of their parents doesn't practice the oral traditions by share the story when they come back home. And the children now glue on the smartphone. That's one of the key problem. So before I joined Awas Mawas, before we come up with Awas Mawas, I did a big puppet during the COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan. So me and my team, I work with the European activist team that we try to send messages about the fossil fuel issues during the COP events. So, and we suggested to use the they're saying about these big snakes that represent the evil spirit of the, and then we creating this big scene, and then we perform in front of the UN leaders, and how we can show the message from the community that the fossil fuel will kill us in the long run if we keep feeding them the fossil fuel. So the idea actually come from the working together with community, that we work with the indigenous community that have a problem with the education system, where many their children that went to the school, they don't finish the school because they feel like they got bored with the school, they didn't finish the school. So we try to use this puppetry workshop to get them knowledge about their own culture, and then also get them participate in many school activity. This is one of them that part of our project. So in our project, we try to collect story from the older generation of the indigenous community, and then try to share what kind of story they can share about their own folklore. And from then we can, at the same time, children actually listen to the older generation sharing the story. From then the children will try to reflect it in their work. And then we work together also with the older generation to create the puppet using the cardboard boxes, and using the knowledge they have about the image of the mythological, or and folklore story into a big puppet. So this is a small video that how we created. This is how we create our puppet parade. So we perform the puppet in the community, for the community. So we don't have we don't perform this in the theater or whatsoever. So the reason is because we want the community have a chance to know that what they've been doing into really performative. The story also is quite political. Some of the stories about how their land right been challenged, and many of them land right been not recognized by the certain party, especially the government. So we use the indigenous folklore, but at the same time we addressing the current issue, the contemporary issue, which is the land right issue. So, and in this performance, we using the indigenous language also, and at the same time we make it even more casual performance, where people can just come and join part of a performance also. So some of volunteer actually impromptu, some of the last minute impromptu additional, they actually come from the audience itself, to ask to help the holding the hand of the puppet at the same time. And that will create a much more exclusivity in our puppet parade and puppet performance. And this is the performance that we done. So we basically just use the badminton court to as a stage for the performance. So and then we, in this puppet parade, we our small puppet parade, we actually work with the two indigenous community. One is from Mamari tribe, another one from a Temuan tribe. And from then we bring the puppet to the city of Kuala Lumpur city, that we perform it in front of a Times Square in Kuala Lumpur. And also we get the invitation from the Ilham Gallery in Kuala Lumpur to perform the second performance back in August last year. That we never planned to have this performance too. We thought the last performance was in Kuala Lumpur in front of Times Square, but from then a lot of good review from the local people in Kuala Lumpur City, and then Ilham Gallery happened to be there to see it, and they're thinking this is good additional to their gallery, and we invited to do this performance. So this is a small video about. So Sungai Bumbun is a Niger village of Kuala Kembas, but another Niger village. Like I said, our parade include bringing the all community together in one parade. It doesn't matter where they come from. That's where we bringing the audience together. It's a free theater. Anybody can join as long as they can join in a parade together, and we can make it impromptu spaces in front of the gallery, and then we perform it together too. So we really focusing how puppet parade and theater a place for community to express their ideas and also their stories through the performative, and also how the performance is not just a place for community to watch and see, but actually they can participate as well. It's very participatory. They can even hold it, they can even try it, and that inclusivity, that's what we putting in our puppet parade. So this is not just the only puppet project that I'm doing. The last year or so, during the COP in Belém, we did a big puppet of a snake. I'm sure I don't have the show here, but we did a big puppet also during the Brazil, and then that puppet was performed just before the Coldplay performed in Belém, Brazil. And this year also I'm working with another community in Johor Bahru on the puppet project. And with this puppet project is basically I'm actually received this grant for research grant from the University of Plymouth, but I'm gonna use puppet theater performance as a base of my research, and how this puppet theater performance become my research finding, and then I want to also the Indonesian community have opportunity to really express it through the performance as well. I think that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shak. Beautiful, very beautiful and interesting. Thank you so much. We go on to our next presenter. It's Guillaume Gebekou from Togo. Guillaume, are you there? Yes. The title of his presentation is Theatre in the Service of Youth, Education and Society. So go ahead, Guillaume, and I believe Dunya is sharing the slides, and the presentation will be in French, but we have a translation of the slides in the chat. Am I right about that, Dunya?
Yes, I will share in the chat in a few minutes, in seconds.
Okay, so go ahead, Guillaume. Thank you.
Okay. Bonjour. Ma présentation, c'est le théâtre au service de la jeunesse, de l'éducation et de la société. Je suis Guillaume Gebekou. Je suis un comédien, metteur en scène et un animateur socio-culturel et promoteur culturel. Je suis très heureux de prendre la parole aujourd'hui autour d'un sujet qui me tient profondément à cœur, la place du théâtre dans la construction de la jeunesse, dans l'éducation et dans la transformation de notre société. Je suis comédien, metteur en scène, formateur en art de la scène et surtout, je suis quelqu'un qui croit fermement que le théâtre n'est pas seulement un art de représentation, mais un outil de formation humaine, de conscientisation et de réveil collectif. Dans mon parcours, j'ai choisi de mettre le théâtre au service de la vie, pas seulement au service de la scène et pas seulement au service du divertissement, mais au service de l'être humain, de sa conscience, de sa dignité et de sa parole et de son avenir. Le théâtre comme outil d'éducation et d'éveil chez les jeunes. En fait, l'un de mes projets qui incarne le plus cette vision est le festival que j'ai mis en place depuis l'année dernière. Allons faire du théâtre dans les écoles. Et allons faire du théâtre dans les écoles dont je suis le promoteur. Ce festival est né d'une conviction simple. Chaque enfant a du potentiel, mais ce potentiel a besoin d'un espace pour s'exprimer, se découvrir et se construire. Et concrètement, nous allons dans les écoles pour sélectionner des élèves, c'est comme ça que nous travaillons, avec lesquels nous travaillons pendant un mois, environ 1 mois et demi, 2 mois. Et durant cette période, nous organisons des ateliers de formation, de pratiques théâtrales, de jeux, d'expression corporelle, de diction, d'écoute, de discipline et de création collective. À la fin du processus, nous créons avec eux un espace, un spectacle qui est ensuite présenté pendant le festival. Ainsi, chaque école participante est représentée sur scène par ses propres élèves. Mais au fond, notre objectif ne se limite pas à produire un spectacle. Le vrai travail est ailleurs. À travers ces ateliers, nous cherchons à former l'enfant dans son comportement, dans sa confiance, dans sa manière de se tenir, de parler, d'écouter, de collaborer et de croire en lui-même. Nous profitons de cet espace artistique pour impliquer les bonnes manières, le respect, la discipline, la solidarité, l'estime de soi et le sens de la responsabilité. Parce qu'un enfant qui monte sur scène pour nous et qui découvre qu'il est capable de parler devant un public, de défendre un rôle, de tenir une posture, de porter une parole, cet enfant ne ressort plus le même. Et le théâtre lui apprend une chose essentielle, c'est ta voix compte. L'enfant qui se dit, ma voix compte. Et dans des sociétés où beaucoup d'enfants grandissent parfois dans le doute, dans la peur ou dans l'efficacité, leur apprendre à croire en leurs propres valeurs est déjà une forme de révolution. Surtout au Togo, ça nous intéresse vraiment d'aller dans ce sens ou travailler avec les enfants parce que le théâtre n'est pas vraiment connu dans les écoles et il n'y a vraiment pas aussi le théâtre, le cours de théâtre dans les écoles. Même pas d'école de théâtre à part un master professionnel à l'université de Lomé. Donc nous avons pris sur nous de faire ces genres d'ateliers avec les enfants, travailler avec eux dans les écoles. Et deux, former des artistes, mais surtout former des êtres solides. Et il y a un deuxième volet de notre compagnie, c'est de former les artistes. Dans cette même logique, je dirige également un programme de formation en art de la scène appelé « Je dois réussir ». C'est un programme de formation qui accueille 8 comédiens tous les 3 ans. On va sûrement se poser la question pourquoi si petit nombre, pourquoi 8 comédiens? Et tout d'abord parce que pour moi, former sérieusement demande du temps, de l'exigence, de la proximité et de la rigueur. Donc, 8 personnes qu'on peut encadrer pour qu'ils sortent avec beaucoup de bagages. Et notre pédagogie repose sur une méthode très claire. 20% de théorie et 80% de pratique. Parce que le théâtre ne se comprend pas seulement avec la tête, il se comprend avec le corps, la voix, la respiration, le silence, l'écoute, la présence, l'endurance, le doute et la répétition et l'expérience du plateau. Dans ce programme, nous ne formons pas seulement les gens à jouer, nous formons des artistes capables de penser, créer, porter une parole, défendre une vision, travailler en équipe et se positionner dans la société. Je crois que l'artiste ne doit pas être simplement un exécutant, il doit être un témoin, un éclaireur, un passeur, parfois même un lanceur d'alerte. Et cela exige une formation profonde, une formation qui prépare non seulement à la scène, mais aussi à la responsabilité de la parole publique. 3, le théâtre comme miroir de la société. Là, on va plus dans ma manière de travailler, mes directions artistiques, mes intentions. C'est-à-dire, au-delà de l'éducation et de la formation, mon travail de metteur en scène, je suis comédien et metteur en scène, s'inscrit aussi dans une démarche profondément sociale et citoyenne. Mes créations abordent très souvent des sujets qui touchent directement la population. J'essaie à travers la scène d'enlever le voile sur certaines réalités, de mettre en lumière ce que beaucoup vivent, ressentent ou subissent, mais n'arrivent pas toujours à exprimer. Et en tant qu'artiste, j'ai fait le choix de ne pas détourner le regard. Je considère que le théâtre doit aussi avoir le courage de regarder la société en face. Et c'est dans cette logique que s'inscrivent plusieurs de mes créations. Par exemple, dans Nos dieux ne sont pas des fantômes, j'aborde la question des tensions et des incompréhensions religieuses. Cette création vient défendre la paix, le dialogue, la tolérance et surtout apporter un éclaircissement sur une réalité qui, à un moment donné, fragilisait notre communauté. À travers ce spectacle, je rappelle que la religion ne devrait jamais être un motif de division ou de violence, mais un espace de sens, d'humanité et de cohésion. Et ensuite, dans mes spectacles, La traite des mémoires et Atterrissage, j'aborde un autre sujet très fort, la question de la jeunesse, de l'exil, du départ vers l'Europe et du rapport au retour. Aujourd'hui, beaucoup de jeunes quittent leur terre avec l'espoir, surtout chez nous au Togo, beaucoup quittent leur terre avec l'espoir d'une vie meilleure. Mais derrière ce rêve, il y a souvent des blessures, des ruptures, des illusions et parfois un rejet progressif de leurs propres racines. Ils ne reviennent plus. Ils partent et ils ne reviennent plus. Et au Togo, actuellement, si on prend 100% des jeunes, 60% veulent partir, se faire former de l'autre côté, travailler de l'autre côté. Et dans les 60%, 90% de ces 60% peuvent décider de ne plus revenir. Bon. Ces créations posent une question essentielle. Comment construire l'avenir sans rompre avec sa mémoire, son identité, sa terre et sa responsabilité envers son propre pays? Je travaille aussi sur une nouvelle création, Nuit de cristal, qui va sortir le 23 mai. La sortie de résidence sera le 23 mai 2026, lors de la Nuit du théâtre. Nuit de cristal s'inscrit encore dans cette volonté de faire du théâtre un espace de vérité. Cette pièce parle du silence du gouvernement face aux cris de la population actuelle. Je ne sais pas si vous êtes au courant de tout ce qui se passe au Togo. Il y a la population qui demande, qui fait des réclamations et apparemment personne ne réagit. Donc, Nuit de cristal est un texte écrit par le professeur Kani Alem qui va dans ce sens. Et moi, j'ai décidé de mettre ce texte-là en scène. C'est une œuvre qui interroge le silence, l'indifférence, l'absence de réponse et ce sentiment douloureux que éprouvent souvent les peuples lorsqu'ils ont l'impression de parler sans être entendus. Et je crois que le théâtre a aussi cette fonction, donner une forme visible à ce que la société ressent confusément. Quand le peuple souffre, le théâtre peut porter cette douleur. Quand le peuple espère, le théâtre peut porter cette espérance. Et quand le peuple est étouffé, le théâtre peut devenir une respiration. 4, j'ai posé une question, surtout ici au Togo. Pourquoi le théâtre est nécessaire aujourd'hui? C'est un thème sur lequel j'avais travaillé aussi dans les écoles. Et aujourd'hui que jamais, nous avons besoin du théâtre, surtout chez nous au Togo. Nous avons besoin du théâtre dans les écoles, dans les quartiers, dans les centres de formation, dans les communautés et dans les espaces publics. Parce que le théâtre nous apprend à écouter l'autre, comprendre des réalités différentes des nôtres, développer l'esprit critique, cultiver l'empathie, prendre la parole avec responsabilité et imaginer un monde plus juste. Le théâtre forme des artistes, c'est vrai, mais il forme aussi des citoyens. Et dans un monde où les jeunes sont parfois happés par la violence, la perte de repères, le découragement ou le vide, le théâtre peut devenir un lieu de reconstruction intérieure. Il peut aider un enfant à croire en lui, il peut aider un jeune à se découvrir, il peut aider une communauté à se regarder en face et il peut aider une société à se poser les bonnes questions. C'est pour cela que pour moi, surtout dans notre communauté ici au Togo, le théâtre ne doit jamais être considéré comme une lutte. Il est une nécessité culturelle, éducative, sociale et même politique au sens noble du terme. Voilà pourquoi j'ai choisi ce projet Allons faire du théâtre dans les écoles sur lequel je travaille, le festival, travailler avec les élèves. Merci. Pour conclure, je dirais simplement, je crois à un théâtre qui forme, un théâtre qui réveille, un théâtre qui interroge, un théâtre qui répare et un théâtre qui élève. Je crois à un théâtre capable de faire grandir les enfants, de responsabiliser les jeunes, de former les artistes et de porter la voix de la société. Et si, pour moi, je continue aujourd'hui, c'est parce que je reste convaincu que la scène peut changer quelque chose dans la vie réelle. Peut-être pas tout, mais quelque chose, oui. Et parfois, ce quelque chose suffit à changer une trajectoire, une conscience, une parole ou carrément une vie. Et je renchéris toujours ma conclusion en parlant de ce projet pour moi qui est extrêmement important d'aller travailler dans les écoles. Ça, je n'ai pas assez de photos sur mon ordinateur. J'aurais tellement aimé partager les photos. Mais la photo sur l'écran, au niveau de la conclusion, c'est elle, c'est une élève en classe de 3e qui a eu le prix de la meilleure comédienne l'édition passée. J'ai tellement aimé sa prestation et une élève qui n'a jamais fait du théâtre. C'est beau. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Guillaume. Very interesting. Now we move on to Matthew Sheehan from Canada. Matthew, the title of Matthew's presentation is Reconciling the Future, Site-Specific Theatre and Decolonization. Matthew, are you ready? Yes, you're ready. So
I'm ready.
Yeah, I will give it over to you
Can
now.
you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Ollie and Idea, for allowing me to present today. Before we begin, one thing that's become common practice in Canada is to acknowledge the land that we're on, and it kind of ties in with the presentation that I'm going to give today. So the traditional territory that I'm standing on is of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat Huron peoples. And one thing about land acknowledgements in Canada, when we're referring to First Nations, Métis or Inuit people and the lands on which we're standing is that they're often empty words that just come with an acknowledgement of history. And so at the Council of Ontario Drama and Dance Educators and in a lot of other concerted areas, we have been working toward not only acknowledging land and acknowledging theft and or broken treaties, but about enacting actions, a call to action, if you will, to move forward in decolonization and reconciliation in Canada. And this entire presentation actually ties into that concept. So the project that I want to speak about is actually ongoing at this moment. The presentation doesn't take place until April 23rd and 24th. It's a site-specific theater piece called Reconciling the Future, Justice as Our Path Forward. And it's actually taking place at an Indigenous First Nations art exhibit called The Path Forward in a little town called Picton, Ontario. That is a collaboration between the Mohawk Language School in Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory, which is the closest First Nation to Picton, and the Council of Prince Edward County, who is the municipality that controls Picton. And it came about as a way to try to talk about ways that we can reconcile with Canada's history and treatment of Indigenous peoples. So in this work, I myself am working now as an Indigenous education instructional coach. I was a drama teacher for 21 years, but placing myself in this work is extremely important. So as I said, I'm an educator predominantly. I worked as 20 years as a drama teacher in a secondary school system in Ontario in Canada. And just this year, I moved into an instructional coach position working in Indigenous education. But through that lens, I use a lot of drama and art and other ways to access the work in a good way without appropriation of voice or culture. I just want to acknowledge that I'm also a father and a partner and a member of a family that draws its origins from Ireland and England predominantly as settlers in Canada. I'm a theater practitioner, so I also do practice theater myself outside of my work as an educator. I do comedy, improv, and theater on stage, and sketch comedy and other things as well. And the most important thing for this presentation is that I acknowledge that I'm a settler with colonial roots. My family immigrated here in a variety of different capacities and are living in different ways in traditional territories of a variety of different Indigenous peoples in Canada. So what is this project? The project we're working on is with senior drama students at Prince Edward Collegiate Institute in Picton, Ontario. And what it is a site-specific theater piece that the students are devising drama and movement pieces in conversation with the art at the Path Forward exhibit. You'll see the image on your left is an image of the students working in the classroom. And then the image on your right is we took them to the museum and they were practicing on the stage at the museum where the actual performance is going to take place. And so we started the entire thing in a broad sense, looking at what reconciliation means to the students. What does truth mean? What does justice mean? And then we moved to the museum where they were creating in the space. And then before we were going to refine, practice, and put together a polished piece for public consumption. Why is this important? So in 2015, there was a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada that wrapped up and released its 94 calls to action. And in those 94 calls to action were passed forward for reconciliation between non-Indigenous and Indigenous peoples in Canada. And Call 62 very specifically asks for the federal, provincial, and territorial governments, in consultation and collaboration with survivors, Indigenous peoples, and educators, to make age-appropriate curriculum on residential schools, treaties, and Indigenous peoples' historical and contemporary contributions to Canada, a mandatory education requirement for kindergarten to grade 12 students. So that particular Call 62, Article 1, is a vital part of the work that I'm doing with students, predominantly non-Indigenous. And so the idea being, how can we use Indigenous voices to create in a good way without speaking for them? So the journey itself, the creative process. So the students collaboratively explored spoken word and tableau themes connected to reconciliation before we visited the site 3 times to create written and movement pieces in conversation with the art. So what we're using to create are the students. We had a series of provocations and a series of prompts for the students in the exhibit in the museum. And based on the paintings, the artifacts, you'll see on the far right, even the walkway going up into the museum represents the Honodona Nadekwa, which is the Thanksgiving address by the traditionally said the words before all else at gatherings of Mohawk people before anything else happens. So through that, the students actually get to explore indigenous ways of knowing before entering the space. And so we used several different pieces of art to provoke the kids to respond through their own writing and through their movement. And then groups of students got together and they melded their responses together and analyzed the different pieces of art to create original pieces that were, as I said, were in conversation with the art, not speaking for the art. What's the point? Why are we doing this? So in 2018, and currently under revision as I speak, the Council of Ontario Drama and Dance Educators, in collaboration with Indigenous knowledge keepers across Turtle Island, North America, predominantly in Ontario, because that's where we reside, created a document called In a Good Way, Drama and Dance and Indigenous Studies. And the purpose of that document in its inception and creation in 2018 was to give people an access point to create utilizing First Nation, Métis, and Inuit voices without, as I said before, appropriating that voice or the culture of those diverse peoples across the whole country. And so in there we had we worked with knowledge keepers, we worked with the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit Education Association of Ontario to create a document that we're now revising because now it's 8 years old and it's a little I don't want to say out of date. It's in need of updating to make sure that the recommendations and ideas being presented to drama and dance educators of ways to do this work are as current as possible. Another reason why it's super important to me is at my school board, the Hastings and Prince Edward District School Board in Belleville, Ontario, one of our 4 pillars of our strategic action plan is advancing Indigenous education and reconciliation. So the key is to embed Indigenous knowledge, perspectives, and history throughout the education system while dismantling systemic barriers. So this project feeds directly into that pillar and is actually the reason why I have the job currently that I have. So what is the performance going to entail? So the students are in the process. We actually just did our first run through of the entire devised piece yesterday, and it's really coming together. On April 23rd and 24th, we're inviting the public in, elementary students, secondary students, people from the public, politicians, local stakeholders in education and reconciliation, people from the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. And the way the entire performance is going to work is that before the audience actually views the performance, the devised piece that students have created, they're going to move through the space and look at and interact with all the different art from the First Nations, Métis and Inuit artists, predominantly from the Mohawk territory in Tyendinaga, but not exclusively. And after about 15-20 minutes of interacting with the art, then they're going to sit down and they're going to watch the piece that the students created in conversation with the art. And following that, I'm going to facilitate with the students a Q&A with each audience so we can have a conversation about how the students came to the conclusions they did, how they made the connections that they did, what they learned through the process. And we've been prompting the students already with some really good questions, like types of things they're going to get from a public audience. And their answers have been super informed, super critical, and really helping us understand why this work and reconciliation between non-Indigenous and Indigenous people in Canada are super important for moving forward together and finding that justice and uncovering the truth and leading to reconciliation. And one thing we're also doing is we're documenting the entire experience. And what we want to create down the road through video, through interviews, through pictures, and through write-ups is we want to create, I don't want to say a how-to guide, but an example of ways to do this work in a good way that allows all people, regardless of their backgrounds, to engage with this work and to perform in a good way to help us understand and learn together along this path of reconciliation. So what are the outcomes? We want to create, as I said, create an exemplar for using Indigenous content to create free from appropriation of voice and culture, and inspire other drama teachers and theater practitioners who are afraid to engage with this work because they're conscious of appropriation or don't want to do it in a bad way or in a way that might be lead to harm or further trauma, to do it in a way that allows people to create and engage in these conversations. And so what this all leads to is hopefully reconciling that future and leading to justice as a path forward as non-Indigenous and Indigenous people, and providing that example of how theater can bring the community together to have these critical conversations to lead to positive social change. And that's everything from me.
Thank you, Matthew. Great, very interesting. So our last presentation is Dennis Digupa from the Philippines. I'm not sure if Dennis is here.
I'm not
Dennis?
sure either.
No, I don't think I don't think I have seen him. So
Yeah.
somehow well, there has been problems with him receiving emails from us. There has been some problems about that. So I assume that we will just then go over to discussion and questions. I give the word over to you, and I was wondering if you could maybe do when you have a question to ask, to raise a hand, like I'm doing now. Like, you go to the heart and you raise the hand, and then you have the question, and then we'll see, and you can ask, and then we'll see, and maybe toward who is going to answer the question or something like that, or maybe you just have a comment. But you can also write in the chat, and we can find that. So So are there questions and comments and further things you want to share? I just want to, I can just start and say that I would just want to thank you all for very interesting presentations. And I think it's it's interesting to see, like, from many different perspectives of socially engaged theater, and also different methods and different ideologies and things. But there are things that are we all have in common, like I said before, and I have written down some of the things that I find that I'm taking with me. So there's the self-awareness, and also the raising of issues that connect with particular groups, and raising awareness and having the awareness of the wider society about the situation of these groups. But then I was also interested in the conditions for participation, because I think I connected to that, and I have often encountered that situation, like what are the conditions to get people to participate in the work, in the society, and that for me it has always been more difficult than participation in schools, because you already have the framework there, but you don't have that in the society. So I think that's also interesting. Then I'm also thinking about like funding. I would be interested in knowing more about like how do people fund their practice? maybe that could be something to ask for. Yeah.
Can I say something about funding, maybe to add?
Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, Andrea is not here. It would refer to her as well because we are doing some similar job and similar target groups. Actually, we started here in Novi Sad, Serbia, with local programs, with local funding. But at the same time, I was part of the European Capital of Culture Novi Sad Foundation in a team preparing the artistic program. And I was familiar with various sources of funding, but national local funding are not appropriate for this kind of ambition working with intergenerational communities. Then we started collaboration and initiated networks through the European programs. So the biggest one was within the CERV program, which is actually very good for this kind of community theater initiatives because there is a lot of topics that are part of the priorities within which we can operate and adjust our priorities. We can find similar goals or cross-border cooperation again within the European programs. So yes, European programs offered us continuity of work and enable possibilities to work for 3, 4, 5 years in advance, which was a step forward for us, for instance.
Thank you. Some other comments about funding?
I really can't speak to that because I cheated and I do work in the education system, so it's publicly funded. But I do want to say, Ollie, you're talking about how the work's already happening in schools, but I would argue that a lot of the work that we're talking about is not happening in schools. It depends on the teacher, depends on the system, and I think like there are a lot of areas where there are no. There are areas in the world. I mean, you and I were both in Singapore in last summer, and they were talking about how like they're drama teachers and theater practitioners, but they didn't actually have a drama curriculum. And like people have fought to get drama curriculums in lots of other countries. So I mean, like I would argue that's not all happening in schools, and we're seeing an assault on the drama, dance, and arts curriculum in Ontario and in Canada. And so we see a shrinking of it. So we see less of it happening in schools. So like the work we're doing with students in different capacities and in ways that get them socially engaged, get them critically thinking and critically aware. Helps us prove not that we all know how important theater and drama are to everyone, but I mean like the people who are in charge of the purse strings, they need to see that and they need to be reminded of that. And we have like a conservative government in control of the purse strings right now who want people only studying science or healthcare, and because they think that's what everyone just needs or the trades, and they don't understand the value of what we do, what all of us do. So we need to be building those things up still in the education system.
Yeah.
I can add one more thing regarding fundraising. It also referred to Andrea, who said I'm a single person in our organization. There is a core team of several of us in our organization, so we are a small NGO, but at the same time we are operating with public institutions, with other organizations. For some open calls, we do not have financial capacities because it requires pre-financing. So that's why we are writing applications for some cultural center in a suburb. So we are mixing resources, not doing everything via our legal entity association, Artichoke.
Okay, thank you. Sanya?
First of all, I want to thank everyone and congratulate you. I mean, it was amazing because we traveled all around the world and so such important practices of work considering socially engaged theater. I think my advice would be, if anybody has the motivation, I think Andrea was a very good example, and actually Polly wrote in the chat how important it is that one person can change so many things. So, if you just start, if you just find a way to start and find a focus group and work with them, if you prove yourself, it's important work, it's good work. Perhaps what will follow is funding, and then later it can be, something for research. It could be also for your advancement in the academic or in the way how you're in your educational career, like Chetna was also mentioning. So, it all leads into one another, but it's all about the impulse and the need. And just also it comes from personal need, I think. And this is also what Andrea told us about her mother, because you have to come from something that's deep inside you. And then you really burn for this. And I know that Lazar and Branka, they told me in Belgrade when we were talking, and actually Branka told me that her aunt got dementia, and that for her it was so important. She loved that aunt and is very close to her. So for her it was very important to do this project about dementia with people, with the seniors in Novi Sad. So I just wanted to say this, and thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you Olafur and Dunja for organizing this amazing webinar. It's really such a rich contribution to ideas online events. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sanja. Okay, are there any more some comments or questions? Yes, Chetna?
Yeah, I was wondering to invite my colleague Sonia and colleague Ksenia. I had a little reflection on your work. It's so beautiful, and it was coincidentally, just a few days ago, I was reading about sensory, and I also wrote to Ivan to meet me online for my research, and because I work with migrant youths and your work was also very beautiful. So I wanted to, because my research is on participation, so if you can reflect a bit about how do you invite these youths to be participatory in, especially sensory-based work. And so how would you like to reflect or comment on what do you do before in their workshop or after? It'll be good to know. Thank you. If you want.
Okay. Thank you. When I started my work in Second Chance School 15 years ago, it was very interesting that when I put on the door theater workshop, nobody appeared. And I took away the label theater. Because these young people, they were not eager to do theater. They were not eager to do anything. So I took away the table, and I was there sitting, and they would come, they would see, they would smell, they would feel what is happening here. And I would say, I'm telling stories where I'm coming from because I'm a foreigner here in Portugal. And when I speak, I always have an accent, so it's an obvious thing. So I started this involvement process with stories, curious stories, opening the map, showing where I'm coming from, who are the countries around. So the first approach was this human connection to create a condition, as you say, conditions for participation. It's not just to tell them, so let's make a game, let's jump, let's improvise. It doesn't work at all. In our experience, a human meeting is the basic of education, is the basic of any kind of communication. And the personal story is a universal technique. So I'm this person, I'm coming from far away, I'm here to do this, I arrive like this. and tell me about you. So by sharing stories, they start slowly, they are involving in a dialogue. So when they are involved in a dialogue, you can take some steps further. And I've heard that many of us, we are working with the same methods. We have very similar backgrounds. It's a fantastic, so if I'm taking something from this sharing, is the amazing universal language of drama and theater. It works, this can work with everybody. This can work everywhere. And it's amazing that we still need centuries, 1,000 years after, we need to convince somebody that this is a good pedagogical and social tool. It's ridiculous.
Always an effort.
So the storytelling, the human meeting, these very easy techniques of image theater, forum theater, make a sculpture to involve the body, to put the body in kind of frozen picture, or to do devising, to do process drama. Step by step, the young people are involved. And then with the sensory theater, it's very interesting because Yuan did here in Portugal one of the biggest sensory labyrinth theaters in 2003. In a very big building that used to be the custom here, they created, in the year of people with disabilities, they created one of the long-lasting labyrinth theater here. And it's amazing how this technique involves people, and how this technique focus people on their human nature. It's so simple to be focused, to close the eyes and to focus on some other things. So it's doable. When we have a reason, we find ways. And yes, one more time, the diversity of theater is amazing. So we can just enjoy the sources.
Thank you. Guillaume, you have a question or comment?
Bon, je voulais dire, je suis happy. Understand? Vous m'écoutez?
Oui. Oui.
Yes.
Okay. I'm happy to share what I'm doing with you. If possible, everyone send me the resume, summary of presentation of everyone. I translate in French to better understand.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That's a good idea. If possible, people can share maybe some. Well, we have the abstract, but if there would be maybe a little bit kind of, or maybe the slides. I don't know. What do you think? Is that possible? At least maybe some summary of yeah, if there's time and the possibility to do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Yeah. So, is there anything more? I have maybe one last, maybe from me. I have the one question that I was interested in, sort of like raised a question within me. It's like, Lazar, you were talking about like introducing stakeholders to your work, and how you connect with stakeholders, which stakeholders, and the purpose of that, and because I think that's interesting when you're doing socially, like creating awareness, and you're working with issues. So how do you do that, and where do you direct your awareness raising, and what you're sort of like working with? And I thought it was very interesting to work in that way with older people or intergenerationally, because I think there's a lot of issues, and also with other groups sort of like what are the issues you're working on, and it also maybe makes people interested in doing it and going for it and something like that. So how do you connect or contact stakeholders and yeah, all that?
Thank you for that question. I mean, we also started doing with groups with some empowering projects that weren't so in advocacy moments, and some of the participants are doing together with us for years. And then that was one of the Andreas questions: what next? And then we said, okay, our next step needs to be in advocating sphere. So since I was part of the European Capital of Culture Foundation, all through this network, I was in communication with some decision makers, but mostly on local level. Then, which something that I give as a suggestion regarding the topic, always contact some expert organization or individuals. In our case, this was the Red Cross Serbia. We were reading some papers of these experts that were dealing with ageism, contacting them, and together with them we made this project Age Against the Machine, and they were very connected with the Ministry of with Commissioner for the Equality. This is public institution, with institution of Ombudsman, how to translate, I don't know on English, for protection of rights. Then I established connection within this CERV European program, which had office within the Ministry of Human Rights and Social Dialogue. I established communication with them, and then I invited all of them to be part of the project, emphasizing that we are not dealing with the daily politics, which is very important for them. This is not against them. This is with the goal to improve the policies, which we can do only together. And actually, we succeeded with this. So these were the steps: contacting and finding people and presenting our work, which had a positive feedback.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should just we'll probably come to our close. I have a feeling we were gonna. It was the time we had was till 2:00, and now it's 1:15. But is there anything somebody wants to ask to at the end to finish with? So if not, I just want to thank you very much for your presentation. It's been really interesting and inspiring, and I echo what Sanja said about so interesting to hear from so many parts of the world. So I'm really happy about this webinar, and it's great to have. It's a great thing to have within the IDEA, the webinars of IDEA, and in the work of IDEA. I think it's really interesting and beautiful to have that sharing and insight into what you're doing. So I don't have anything more to say. I just want to thank you very much, and I want to ask you if you have the possibility to summarize what you have been presenting, then it would be great if you could send it to our administrator, and she will then forward it to Guillaume in Togo. So thank you very much. It's been really a pleasure to meet you all, and I hope to meet you again somewhere in the world. I don't know. You never know about that. So, but we have your contact, and we will see you hopefully somewhere else. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ollie.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, Luskaras. Happy Easter to everyone who
Happy
celebrates.
Easter to you, Sanja.
Thank you.
Thanks.